Reds Country. I'm Jeff.
I'm Tom.
I'm Kim.
And this is Three Old Reds Fans podcast coming to you from Shea Generette poolside again on a lovely Sunday evening in Reds Country. We're a short drive from our good friends at Dean's in the heart of Cedarville, the famous birthplace and final resting place of Reds pitching legend Bumpus Jones. We're glad to be here tonight. We're not in our usual place. I have a daughter trying to move out of state, and our house is, well, as you can imagine, things are a little bit disrupted.
So the
right
studio's a little disrupted.
Yeah, the studio's got some, let's just say it's a little cluttered.
With girl stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we're back here, and we're going to take probably for a little swim afterwards. So, this time of year, it's a good place to be anyway.
That's
so,
right.
And Kim fed us a little mac and cheese, and what'd you have, a hamburger?
Peach cobbler.
And the peach crisp.
Crisp.
Yeah, peach crisp.
You keep doing this, we'll come here every time.
So, hey, things didn't go like we wanted today. The Reds today, this is Sunday evening, August 11th? Yeah. And the Reds just had we thought we were looking at 3 wins out of 4 over the Cubs, and then the bullpen let us down and things didn't go so well and they lost that game. But at any rate, it is August 11th, and we cared about this series. It mattered. And before we get into what's going to happen, what we think might happen down the stretch, let's just talk about, why we're having a good time right now for the most part.
So the positive thing is, 12-7 in the last 19 games?
Yes.
So we've had a good stretch here, even though our bullpen's been rough.
Yeah.
The hitting's come around, right? And so I think we all agree that's really the reason for the last 20 games, the better record.
Yeah, I mean, starting pitching's been real good too, which is as it's always been. And we've added Trevor Bauer, and he pitched a really good game his second start, and Alex Wood has had one good start now, and out of 2, and all that. But really, it's the offense, and it's a bunch of rookies doing it. So
I checked, we're 10th in the National League now in hitting, which is up a few slots.
In batting average.
At batting average.
Yeah.
It's probably more than a few slots.
It's up three slots, I think.
Right. And I'm sure in all the other categories we've made similar rises in terms of on base, slugging, and all those types of things too.
And we're still second in pitching in ERA.
Uh-huh.
Now, one thing we haven't talked about because we haven't been together, what did you guys think of the big trades that happened?
Well, I was surprised they did so much, to be honest.
Me too.
I kind of thought they might sit and do more off-season stuff like they did last year.
Who are these guys? They never do.
But they went out and did this thing with Trevor Bauer, and Trevor Bauer has a reputation of being eccentric and a little different and everything, but hey, the guy can pitch.
Sure can.
So, and there's a whole lot of thought of his approach and his analytical approach and his I'd
say his convictions.
Convictions.
His conviction to his regimen and his workout.
Right.
He's going to stay with it. It's been successful.
Yeah, he's like a student of the game type of guy. So, I mean, I don't know. I hated to see Puig go, but as it's turned out, it was probably the right thing to do.
I didn't mind seeing Puig go. We have plenty of outfielders.
Well,
Scooter, kind of a hometown guy with the 4 home runs. I'll miss him, but I understand why.
Yeah.
Well, when we picked up Puig, last year, and the rumors were about Puig, it's like, do we really want him? And he galvanized this club. He galvanized this city. So there was a little bit of, hate to see him go. But it's his last year. He's been a solid citizen, but what did he do to wear out his welcome in L.A.? I don't know, but here's what I do know. It was a contract year.
Yeah.
So now you get a guy like Trevor Bauer, who you have another year of control. I love the fact that he's not a free agent in 8 weeks. I love the fact that he's going to be here next year. So I'm big on the trade. So
a lot of fans complained. I heard some fans complaining, we only got it for 1 more year. Well,
yeah, but that's pretty good.
That's baseball anymore,
for a
right?
top-tier starting pitcher?
I think there's too many fans live in the past of like, can we keep these guys together for a long time? And it's just, baseball's not that way anymore.
Yeah.
And then when you look at Castillo, Gray, Bauer, And if Alex Wood can just pitch like he's done in the past, and then if he does that and you keep him, you've got a solid, serious rotation
yeah.
for next year.
Well, they've obviously listened to us, right? Because we said it's all about starting pitching. But seriously, that's exactly what they've done. When you think about it, all their moves have been to get a starting pitcher.
Build the rotation, because it's never. This is unusual. We've had little spots here and there. I think when we had the good rotation a few years ago, with Latos and Bailey and Arroyo and Cueto and that bunch, and Leake, I think that just sort of didn't feel like they really went out and did that. It just kind of they went and got Latos, but otherwise it kind of just happened.
Yeah.
And this is a little more. This has been more targeted. Maybe is a word.
All 4 of those guys are trades.
Yeah. Castillo was in the minors.
Well, he was with the Marlins.
Yeah.
And then Gray with the Yankees, Wood with the Dodgers, and now Bauer from Cleveland.
Right.
I mean, they're putting this team together. Like Tom said earlier, who's running this ball club?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah, this is not the Reds of old.
Right.
And we're thankful for it.
That's right.
And there's always naysayers about everything the Reds do. There's always going to be that. But I think overall, most Reds fans are pleased with the overall the approach now.
I think if you understand baseball,
Yes.
you know you're going to have to build up your staff.
Right.
And that's what they're doing.
Exactly. So that's been great. And we do know, as you were talking about, Kim, as far as next year, we do know 3 of those guys we do
Yep.
have. We have Castillo, Bauer, and Gray. And if you can't be a contender, knowing those are the front of your rotation, then you can't just throw, any old 2 guys behind them. But you've got the
Molly
ability.
and you got some of these other guys.
I like Molly. And I think Molly's got a solid future. So hopefully he can develop. Hopefully he can learn from these guys.
Yeah. And we don't know what. And DeSclafani has not been like ace-like at all, but if you start comparing him to other number 4 and 5 guys around the league, you'd be surprised. I think you'd be like, that guy is pretty good.
I agree with you.
I mean, I think Mike Leake was underappreciated in the same
I
role.
agree.
I mean, Mike Leake was better than we gave him credit for.
That's a good point.
But you start comparing Mike Leake to the other guys, or DeSclafani, you start comparing him to the guys in front of him in your rotation, and then you're like, he's not so great. But if you start looking around what the other guys are sending out there, just look at who some of these other teams are putting on the mound when we play them sometimes. Now the Cubs are not that team. They're putting out, quality guys, but a lot of teams are putting out guys, and it's like, it's some guys made 18 starts and his ERA's over 5. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we used to do.
That used to be our number 2.
Yeah, or 1. Last year was our number 1 with Homer because he started opening day, right? So that was our number 1 last year. So, so what about the fun thing lately to watch, though, has been Aristides Aquino and hitting all these home runs and getting other base hits. He knocked, he had a key hit early in today's game, knocking a run.
Yeah, he did.
He's not going to hit a home run every night, we can't get too thinking that's going to happen all the time, obviously, and he's not going to bat over 400. But the kid is, he's doing the job.
I'm always skeptical. Kim gives me a hard time, but let's give him 100 at bats and let Major League Scouting catch up with him and see where he is in 100 at bats.
I would say if Tom is your team's general manager, you're not going to have a Rookie of the Year on the team.
Yeah,
You're probably right, brother.
But I think, he's certainly earned to stay in the lineup probably the rest of the year and see what we got.
You got to keep him in.
He's 25, and so what did I know a little bit about his past? Were you guys familiar with this guy much at all when he got called up?
I was not.
Or when he, or even before this year?
Well, before this year, not really, other than, I vaguely remember him getting called up when Votto went on the IL.
Yeah.
But this year, it's been, all right, Senzel, all right, but Josh Van Meter was tearing it up. He's come up. Aquino and O'Grady. So these guys, we've got four guys that were just tearing it up in AAA the past 12 months or so. So that's all I knew him about.
Yeah.
Really was this year.
So do you like our four guys in the outfield? You're throwing
Right
Irvin,
now, right now,
Irvin
you,
in
right
there?
now you do. I mean, you can't. You can't really argue with what we have there and what lineup which three he decides to play on a given day, because you're like, even if you like another guy better than Irvin, if Irvin's batting against a left-hander, the way he's hit left-handers this year, you can't
Argue.
You can't argue with that.
No.
You
So
can't.
do you like this outfield better than the one we started with Matt Kemp,
Oh, yeah.
Puig,
Well, Kemp-
Winker?
Kemp for sure.
Kempsey.
Yeah,
Well-
and Schebler, and Schebler's wasting
Right.
away in AAA now. I think so. Yeah, I like the fact that there's some future with it. If these guys can all be solid major league hitters, and one of them can be an all-star on occasion, you've got the makings of a good solid outfield that's young and very controllable for a long time.
And Tom, not to pick on you, but in the beginning of the year, you did not want Senzel in center field. That's not going to learn. I've got to say, the guy's picked it up pretty much since day one. He's an athlete. There was a catch he made the other night. We were texting about it. When he went against the center field wall, up in the air, his arm almost straight. That was so difficult. It's one thing to go parallel rather to the fence. He went straight into the fence, made just a
Perpendicular.
phenomenal catch. He's just been
He's
what we
proven
hoped
himself
he would be.
a good enough athlete to be
Yeah.
out there. hasn't
I'd
he?
Yeah.
love to see him in the leadoff slot when we're at bat against lefties and righties, but he's proven himself. And yeah, I like this. I like this four outfielder platoon. I would like to see Winker in the offseason work on batting against left-handers, because think of our
Oh, I'm
Reds
sure
of the
he
'70s.
is. I'm sure he is.
Rose, Griffey, Morgan, Bench, Perez, Foster, Concepcion, Geronimo. They played every day. Didn't matter
Yeah.
what side the other team was pitching, righty or lefty.
Yeah.
They played. I'd love to see Winker do a little more of that, because I think he's a big future of this ball club as well.
Could be.
But Irvin, you're right. I have
You have
no
such a man
qualms.
crush on Winker.
I have
I'm
no
just saying.
qualms with Irvin playing, because Irvin has smaller sample size, but Irvin has certainly proven himself to be
Yeah,
a
he's earned
viable
it.
team member
I agree.
of this
He's
club.
earned the playing time.
I agree.
Well, Aquino is a guy who's one of these. I think he's Dominican Republic, and he's one of these kids they sign when they're 16 years old down there. They bring him over here. So he played in Dayton. I saw him play some in Dayton like 4 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago. Whatever it's taken him to get up. And when you saw him, I saw him when he hit the ball hard, hit a home run, it's like, man, raw power. You could see that. You could see the tools of him, the arm he's got, how hard he can hit the ball, and how athletic he is.
Mhm.
You know, just this big raw athlete. And it's like, that's a guy. He didn't hit that well in Dayton that year. He was there that one season, and they moved him up to Daytona anyway. And it's like, I don't know if he'll ever really make it, but that's a guy, an athlete that you've got to keep pushing up through and seeing, and keep advancing him, and see if it'll click someday. You know, development is not a straight line. It's not linear. I mean, it's ups and downs, right? There's a few guys. There's exceptions. Guys who, by the time they're 21 or 22, are killing it in the major leagues, because there's guys like that, right? There's the Mike Trouts of the world, and Harpers, and this Chris Bryant, a Bo Bichette now, who's been on that trajectory with the Blue Jays and is tearing it up as a rookie. But then Joey Votto had a bad first year. He didn't hit the ball very well first year he played in Dayton. Brought him back the next year. That's when he really started to mature as a player. So that's what Aquino's done. He got in this off season. They took him off the 40-man. He cleared waivers. They re-signed him to minor league deal, sent him to AAA. Changed his approach. He's got that open stance, And like you say, scouting will catch up to him so he can't hit 450. Will scouting catch up to him and make him a 220 hitter? I don't know.
See if he can hit 275.
Yeah, if scouting will catch up to him and he will not. I don't think he's a long-term 300 hitter, But if he's a 250 to 270 hitter and he can hit 30-some homers and drive in a lot of runs, be in the middle of the order, and be a guy you're scared of because how far he hits the ball, then he's going to be a good player for you. So, I mean, that's kind of where it is.
So what do the Reds have to do? What are we, 7 games out of the wild card? Something like that?
No, it's 7 out of first place, right?
Is it like 6 out of the
And
wild
it's more
card?
like 4.5 or 5 out of the
Probably
wild
Well,
card.
we lost
now.
today.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it. Other teams have played today, whatever. It's that, it's in striking distance. A lot of teams in front of them.
So what do we have to do?
Well, we
Win.
got to keep winning. They got to keep winning like they have been.
That's
Like
honestly.
you just said, what 12 of their last 19. They
12
got to
nine.
keep going 12 and
That's
7.
why I was so
type
disappointed in
pace.
not winning today. A split gets you where you were
Right.
3 days ago. That doesn't help you.
No, it doesn't hurt you, but it doesn't help you.
And we're in the time of year where you got to help yourself.
You got to help yourself.
every week.
Can't count on everybody else to lose because they're not all. There's too many teams ahead.
Good schedule coming up, right? We play some last place teams.
Yeah, well, right now we go to Washington for 3 games, and we're
After
back.
that.
We got Cardinals for 4, and then after that, you got the Marlins show up in there, the Diamondbacks, but the Diamondbacks are a couple games.
Diamondbacks are ahead of us.
They're a couple games ahead of us. I mean, they're a worthy opponent, but it's not like you're playing the Dodgers. So or
Padres,
the Astros.
Marlins, right around there.
Yeah, we do play the Marlins. I know we got the Phillies.
Play a
coming.
good team in the Mets.
Yeah, and the Mets have been hot, but see but a lot of these teams like the Reds have had these been very up and down, right? So hopefully we catch some teams on their way down.
I think
if it comes down to the last week, the last 3 games are against the Pirates in Pittsburgh.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, that
So,
would be nice.
so we've lost, 12, or we lost 7 of the last 19 games. I wonder how many of those 7 were lost from the bullpen.
Couple bullpen. You can blame the bullpen probably. We
Today.
blame it today, and there's probably a couple others in there. If you went back and looked at, it, you
Good,
could
I'll
blame
bet
it.
3 or 4
Yeah,
of them. So I was going to say the bullpen shores up a little bit,
it's got to.
and you could go on a run.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, I mean, realistic. A bullpen's going to cost you some games now and then, right?
Yeah.
It's just doing it way too much right now.
You can go on a an 8-4 run, or a 10-4 run, or something like that. Could really get you in the hunt really quick.
You
Well,
pretty
what-
much got to shave a game off every 10 days right now to get to the wild card.
I agree with you that your bullpens, you're going to lose games, but what's frustrating is today at least it's Lorenzen and Garrett.
Right.
Yeah, it's the guys you
2
count
of
on
your
the most.
best.
Right.
And Iglesias just the past 10 days has been the Iglesias of old. He was someone who was about to lose a starter role. He was someone that, okay, we don't mind if you trade him.
Yeah.
And he's been the most solid. It's bad when you make Bob Steve look good. And, he comes in today and strikes out, 2 in 1 inning.
Yeah.
Who can you depend on?
Yeah,
No one right
yeah,
now
yeah.
except Iglesias.
Well, Lorenzen had that game recently too, where he came in and walked all those guys, and that.
Oh, that was 2 nights ago, wasn't it?
Mm,
Yeah.
no, we won that game.
He's done
Yeah,
a lot
but I'm
of
saying
that.
he
no,
came in and he walked
came
a
in and
couple
walked
of
a
guys.
guy. He came in and
He
that
always
it
does
didn't
that.
Gave up a
cost.
single.
But there was a game in a previous series or something, and the games run together, where he came in and walked he walked in a run and all that, and it really was part of he was a big part of a meltdown that night. So I don't know if he's just relying on one pitch too much or whatever. He's throwing hard. He's healthy. It seems like it's just. Well, and the David Hernandez was. I mean, I understand why you keep putting him out there because you think this guy's been good. Okay, he had a couple rough outings. It doesn't mean you cut a guy for 2 rough outings. Well,
His ERA was about-
once you've had 12 outings with 22 earned runs in 8 innings and 12 outings, something like that. That's when you cut a guy. And
His
they had
ERA
to.
was above 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
It just-
6 or 7.
They gave
by the
him
time
plenty
they
of
cut.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Evidently, he was a great presence in the locker room.
But sooner or later,
But on the field,
Right.
you got to produce.
you got to produce. So that's the thing. So are we, right now we're on the fringes of this race.
Yes.
No, are
Very
we ever?
much so.
Are we going to be? Are we going to get really in it? Or are we going to be out of it?
I would love. Wouldn't you guys love to be scoreboard watching in September,
Yeah.
where we're looking to, what's Washington doing? What's St. Louis doing?
All right, here's my.
We got to
real-
be like 2 games. We'll win. If we get in, it'll be wild card. We're not going.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
think we
yeah,
can
yeah.
catch the Cubs.
I don't think we'll get in. I don't think we'll win the wild card. All right.
Why are you going to be so
But
negative?
I don't want to be negative. I'm just being honest. But remember, I'm the one who predicted 76 wins at the beginning of the year. It's just what I saw. But here's what I do want. I want series like this weekend against Chicago to matter now. I want them to learn to win some of these games, if not series. I want them to have that pressure. I want them to understand that. And then 2020 comes, and we're positioned with a great starting lineup in terms of starters, great position players, depth, and then get working on that bullpen. Realistically, I think we stand a chance to be a contender in 2020.
Oh,
The staff, there's
I
no
would
doubt.
be disappointed.
But that's what I want from the
Completely
rest of
next
this year.
year. Yeah.
I'm not looking for the playoffs. That's gravy. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I just want them to learn how to win. And to learn how to win, you have to get yourself in those situations. And they have the opportunity, like you said, to be scoreboard watching for this team in September. That means you're winning. You're getting a taste of it.
Yeah. You know, the last time we talked about like next year's roster, and that's complete. How much of that has changed because of the Jeanette and Puig being gone.
And Peraza with a change, and you know,
Yeah, well, yeah, and
The outfield.
Yeah, and Iglesias is not playing lately. He's got
Bicep.
is it the
Sore
bicep?
bicep.
That's what it is. And
Said if they were in a playoff hunt, he'd be playing.
right, if it was really tight, right.
And Peraza looked pretty good this weekend.
He looked fine. He's hitting the ball better. But let's go. So outfield right now, it's that 4-man deal of Winker, Senzel, Irvin, Aquino. I think there's going to be there had been talk. We got to go find an outfielder. This team needs another bat in the outfield that they can count on.
I agree with that.
So do you think they'll go get a veteran bat for the outfield, or do you think they'll look at these 4 young guys?
I mean, we got our number 3
And do
hitter in
that.
Suarez, right? But who's another really solid hitter we have besides that?
Well, Aquino's been batting 4th and 5th right now.
He's
I'm
been in
just
10
saying.
games, dude.
I know, but I'm just saying. So I agree. I'm just telling you who's doing it. I'm not defending that that's what we do long term. I'm just saying. So you're saying you think they'll go?
I would.
You think they'd go find an outfield bat versus the 4 guys we're going to finish the season with, basically, and Van Meter plays out there some too. You think they'll go get somebody?
I do.
You think they'll feel like we got to get a veteran?
I mean, it matters what's
outfield
out there,
bat?
right? But
Yeah, something better than Matt Kemp, right? So, what do you think, Kim? Do you think they'll go find? You think they'll pursue that?
You know, I think one of you said that Winker would be trade bait or something like that. Up in right before this series, I think he was second on the team in OBP and OPS. That being said, I think he's someone you keep. You're not going to get rid of your center fielder and your right fielder. You're going to keep them. I think Winker is worth keeping. I don't like him batting in the starting lineup. I don't think you need to
You don't
trade
like
for
him
an
batting in
outfield.
the starting lineup?
Huh? I'm sorry. I don't think you need to bat him leadoff.
Yeah, well, you've been against that from day one.
But for me, I wouldn't look for another outfielder. Unless something fell on my lap that's incredibly hard to pass up, that wouldn't be where I'm going. I would look.
Well, free agent wise, the only 2 guys really worth going after to be really good players that I see on the list are Puig,
Right.
which you could,
We
and
talked about this a while
Starling
back.
Marte. Those are the 2 guys.
really, that's it?
That's really
Yeah.
kind of it. Anything else, you would be like, I'd rather play a young guy.
Really?
Yes.
I'm surprised.
I think you would agree. I think if you looked at the list, you would agree that
Huh.
I'd rather see what these young guys can
Yep.
do versus
I agree.
bringing in. I mean, it'd be like bringing in like Kemp or Ryan Ludwig or or who was the guy that from the Phillies a couple years ago who had played for the Phillies. They put in left field.
Marlon Byrd?
Marlon Byrd. I mean, seriously, I think it's guys like that. I mean, probably a couple guys a little better.
Doesn't sound
than
any
that, but
like
I
he's any good
focus on
trade bait.
bullpen. You're going to have to answer another middle infielder because we may not get Iglesias. And as great as Barnhart has been since he came back getting off the IL, I would look at upgrading the catcher position.
yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that with the bat.
You
either.
look to upgrade any position offensively, right?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
what about Joey?
Well,
Yeah.
Joey's not going anywhere.
But to Tom's point in your question, upgrading another position, it's tough.
Contractually, he's here.
He could allow
Well, he's going
himself
to be our
traded,
DH.
right?
You said we're going to have the DH next year, right?
Well, that'd be nice. I'd
Could-
like. If I'm right about one thing in my life this year, I hope it's that.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
How about baseball related? One thing in my life, baseball related, that I'd love to be right about would be DH in the National League. So, to your point, the only guys with a higher OBP right now on the Reds than Winker are Van Meter, Irvin, and Aquino, but they've only played in.
And
Irvin and Van Meter played in 51 games. Aquino in 9, well 10 today. This is probably just through yesterday. And Winker's played in 108 games. So he's 352, Votto 345, Suarez 339. And those numbers are way down from last year. All three of those guys were up around 400 last year.
And that's my point. People look and say, boy, Winker's not doing that well. He's
neither is it.
above Suarez. He's, in terms of our regular starters, he's above them all.
He's got.
You mentioned Van Meter, who's new. Aquino, who's new. Irvin, sample size way too small.
Right, exactly. So I'm just saying, those are the only, of the guys who've been there all year, he has the best on-base percentage. He also has 100 fewer at-bats than Votto, and he has about 115 fewer at-bats than Suarez, but, he hasn't played every day.
Right.
He's played in one fewer game than Votto, but he pinch hits almost every night he doesn't start, so...
Is he driving in? Is he driving in runs?
Not from the leadoff
he's
position.
batting leadoff a lot.
37.
I mean, he's not going to drive in a lot of runs doing that. I mean, Votto's not.
He's got one less than
either.
Joey, who's batting behind him.
Yeah. So
Joey's an interesting decision, though.
Yep.
Where he is with his career right now.
Yep.
He could permit himself to be traded, right? I
he
assume.
could. I don't think he wants to.
And he's under contract till 40 years old. Is that right?
Well, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, that's right.
he's
Which
no
is
trade.
4 more years?
Is he 36?
Yeah, something like that. So for guys who, qualify for all that stuff, Winker has had a good year. The key is, they don't want him hit against left-handers, but that's not his fault. Eventually, I think if Irvin hadn't come up and been hot hitting left-handers, he probably would have played more against left-handers lately. But how do you not put Irvin in the lineup when he's tearing it up against left-handers?
I agree.
So there's that.
See that? I said I agree.
He agrees. yeah, you have to agree to that. Infield.
You root for the front of the jersey, right, Jeff?
Right. I root for the front, not the back. I do, man.
Well, we all do.
I know, but I
don't know. He liked Schebler in Oklahoma.
I think
He did.
Yeah, I did.
He had a picture of him.
I did, but he's not producing. I'm not. I wish he was, and was. I wish. I don't. But he's not here. He's not here. I'm not worried. I'm not upset about it because he didn't do it. He didn't get the job done.
Let us
I know we all
tease you, Jeff.
I know we all I know. I'm sorry. I know we all root for the front. I just probably root for the front at a higher percentage.
Don't even go there.
Well, I don't. Well, I go for the back less. I don't know. I don't know. Because people are always like, oh, good for this guy. I'm like, yeah, well, good for the team. I just think that, and maybe I'm not being honest with myself.
Well, and let's
maybe
say
I'm not
this
being
too.
honest with myself.
And let's say this too, in terms of what we have and what we want and what we need. By all means, keep Johnson the pitching coach.
Well, yeah, that's
Not everyone can play for New York. Jay Bruce twice got rid of him out of there. No, Sonny Gray, he was not a New York market guy. And now I got friends of mine who are Yankee fans saying, we want this guy. Why wasn't he pitching like this for us? Because not everyone can play in the New York market, and there's something about Johnson and what he does.
Yeah,
and it's a joy to sit there. And last night they show Sonny Gray and Trevor Bauer next to one another talking.
Well,
Awesome.
When Sonny came out, they got one of them had the ball. I think Sonny had the ball in his hand. He's like showing like motions of how he was throwing his curveball or something. They were talking. So yeah, it's very much that
Get
way.
Molly in there with him.
Yeah. Middle infield next year.
Good question.
Yep.
It's been a question mark since
Brandon Phillips.
Brandon Phillips and Zach Kozar left. And that's what happens to baseball teams most of the time. You have Barry Larkin at shortstop for how many years, and then what happens over the next 10 years? You go through like 13 guys
Still
trying to
wrong.
find them. you go third. Some teams have a third base or first base. You go through a dozen guys in 6 years trying to find a guy before you find a guy. It's
Iglesias will
it's
probably
not
be
that
gone,
simple.
right?
He's a free agent. If he doesn't think it's really his job, and somebody else says we want you to come and be our full-time guy, he probably go. Now, if the Reds make him an offer, say you're our shortstop for at least this year, 100%, you're our guy.
I would not overpay him, but I would definitely pay him.
I would, yeah. He's not going to get $10 million a year.
Well, he's
but-
had a fantastic year.
Yeah.
Good grief. We know
Well,
his
he's-
glove is good.
Yeah.
And look at his bat's been
280, been in 280s pretty
Are
much.
you
That's the
kidding me?
lowest he's been all year.
I mean, I think we'd
Yeah.
take 280 all day long.
Yeah,
take
he's
270
a great.
with him.
He's really good in this. He's really good batting in the bottom of your order. I mean, he's not middle of the order guy, and he's not probably top of the order guy because, he could walk more.
Although
But-
for the Reds, somebody hitting 280s.
yeah,
as
but
good
the,
as
but, but
You're
the
right.
Peraza thing. The Peraza is the one that I go back and forth on Peraza because he's still not getting on base very well. He still doesn't walk, and I think because of that, his slumps are going to be like.
Well,
It's
Iglesias
just
doesn't
gonna kill
walk
you.
either. That's a problem
Yeah.
with Iglesias as well. He and Peraza have that issue.
They don't walk. They don't get on base very well.
But Peraza's still young and under control,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
So keep him as a backup.
I think he's here.
Yep, I agree.
He's more likely to be on this team, probably than
Iglesias.
Jose Iglesias.
So is Van Meter the second baseman?
Could be. I mean,
Still a
could
little
be.
too early on
It's
him.
a little early to say he's your second baseman of the future, but he's certainly a guy worth keeping, giving a chance to.
Is Dietrich
so
gone?
Iglesias' walk percentage this year is 4%. Peraza is 3.5,
Wow.
whereas Van Meter is 12.2.
Van Meter has a good eye.
Votto's 11.5, Casali's 11, Barnhart's 12.2,
Wow.
Winker 9.5, Dietrich 9.5. Of course, Dietrich's hit by pitch percentage is
Amazing.
off the charts. They don't. It's astronomical for that stat. Suarez is a 9.8, Senzel 7.3. But yeah, those guys, they don't walk enough, and those are the kind of guys you need getting on base by walks because they're not getting a lot of extra base hits.
And they're faster. Yeah.
So I think if I had one stack of money and I could spend it however I wanted on a position player, or if I could just make any trade I wanted and not hurt the rest of my team to get a good position player for my lineup, would it be an outfielder, a middle infielder, or a catcher? What would be my, if I could ask the genie in the bottle?
Doesn't that matter
For
what's
that.
available?
Well, okay, let's be beyond what's available.
If you were king for a day and you
King
could
for a
have
day, and GM for a day, and you could do whatever you wanted. King for a day. Which one of those, middle infield, catcher, or outfield, would you feel was the most important thing to go get
for this team.
for this team for next year? Yeah,
Based on what we have right now.
based on where we sit, and we can answer this question better in October, but based on where we sit right now, what do you think?
I think the way you look at it is you got Winker, Senzel, Irvin, and Aquino in the outfield. Are they better than those guys we just talked about? Iglesias, Van Meter, Peraza, Diebler. Or not Diebler.
Diebler.
Did you see they just won that
Yeah,
tournament?
yeah.
Who,
the
Tom?
Carmen's crew.
Carmen's crew won the
Yeah, I
tournament.
watched that game.
Dietrich, sorry.
Dietrich.
And I'd have to say the group of outfielders as a whole are a better group than
Feels-
the group of infielders. What do you guys think?
Feels like a better group than those middle infielders.
What do you think,
It
Ken?
does to me.
Me, knowing that you have years of control in the outfield, knowing that you do have some strength up the middle in terms of players that have potential. Van Meter, I'd love to get Iglesias, but out of those three positions, I'm going catcher. I want
Really?
a guy. Yep, I want a catcher. I want a catcher who is going to hit 25 to 30 home runs and be a guy dependable.
Yeah.
You can depend on. I would not mind having Tucker Barnhart still on the roster, but if you could have gotten JT Realmuto like they tried earlier in the year, oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. Well, we want what we thought we had in Mesoraco, and we didn't get it long
We
term.
had him that
We
one
had it-
year,
we
and
had
then
it
the
for a
injury
year.
bug bit him.
We had it for a year.
But I think Barnhart, as a player, is a better player than those 4 middle infielders.
As an overall ball
Yeah,
player.
because he won the Gold Glove. He hits pretty well.
He did win a Gold Glove, and he
And he's hit well since he came back off the injury list. So I'm to me, it's either middle infielder or catcher. I think, boy, if I could get a really stout offensive player at shortstop, I think that's where I'd go.
There's not many of those.
Yeah. We're not getting. I don't think Francisco Lindor's for sale, but that's who I'd love to have. You know, that,
Of course.
That's the guy you want. Can you get if you could get that guy, great. Do they have that in their minor league system? I don't know. They got some shortstops. I don't think the next Francisco Lindor is down there. That'd be hard to predict. There's some guys that can field down there. Whether they can be great offensive players at the major league level, I have no idea. So,
I made the assumption earlier that there'd be a lot of outfielder free agents that were good candidates. You're saying there's not.
there's not.
So if there's not, then you're probably looking at.
We had
infielder
lunch together a while back, and we looked, and the two guys were Puig and Marte were the best offensively,
Wow.
yeah.
and Puig was the best. And so our talk was to keep Puig, to re-sign him.
When you look at it that way. Yeah.
So the free agent class, notable free agents for 2019, 2020. At catcher, Francisco Cervelli, who has
Pirates.
been hurt
Yep.
a lot,
Yep.
and Yasmani Grandal, who I don't know that he's an upgrade. I don't think he's the defensive catcher that Barnhart
Cervelli would
is.
interest me.
Cervelli would get my interest. At first base, Jose Abreu. At second base, Scooter Gennett, Jonathan. I don't know how you say it. Scope, however you say it. Third base, Anthony Rendon and Josh Donaldson. Shortstop, Didi Gregorius. Outfield, Marcelo Zuna's a free agent. I didn't know that. Nicholas Castellanos, who the Cubs just got, who's hit a bunch of home runs in this series. Yasiel Puig, Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton's a good player. He's from around here. He's from Springfield. But I don't know. Starting pitchers: Garrett Cole, Madison Bumgarner, Zach Wheeler, Steven Strasburg has an opt-out. Alex Wood, Jake Odorizzi.
You could get third
Rick
baseman and
Porcello.
move Suarez to short.
First. Moving to
Suarez.
first.
I don't think Suarez is.
You can do Votto.
I don't know.
In terms of, and we all love Votto, but in terms of what did it take to improve this team, putting Suarez there, and
I'm not
you know
gonna
what we're
argue with
saying
it.
when we're talking about that, to me, Jonathan India is still a untouchable. You don't mess with him. People were saying throw Senzel in the trade past year or so. Nope.
You disappointed
Senzel
with
and India.
Trammell? Taylor Trammell that we got rid of?
What about him?
Were you disappointed with that? He was.
No. A
one of
year
your-
ago, I would
thought
have
he
been,
was
but
one of your
no.
untouchables.
Year ago, he was. But look at what you got in terms of Bauer,
Right.
All right, I found this better list here now that for 2020, and I will tell you outfielders. Let's see what it says. I didn't know that Ozuna was on that list.
and as well as Castellanos has hit lately. Hasn't he still been a 240 hitter?
I don't know.
I don't think overall. I may be wrong on that. I don't think overall he's been killing it.
Yeah, but with the analytics these days,
Just he and
They're
Ian
gonna-
Happ kill the Reds.
Ian Happ. Good
yeah,
grief.
yeah. But with the analytics these days, they're gonna batting average is a thing, but it's not something that helps them. It doesn't really make a decision for anybody. Ozuna is a free agent. Right now, he's hitting .254 for the Cardinals with 65 RBIs, 22 homers. So he's legit. I didn't remember him being on that list before. Certainly Puig is. Then you got guys like I mean, Corey Dickerson's a free agent. Nick Markakis, who's 36 years old and is not having the same. Billy Hamilton's a free agent. Starling Marte, who's got 20 homers, hitting 284. His OPS is over 800. Adam Eaton, 7 homers. Adam Jones, who's 34. Hunter Pence, who's how old's he? 37. Curtis Granderson's 39. Melky Cabrera. That's it. Matt Kemp will be a free agent still. I don't know if anybody ever picked that guy up, if he's done or not. So
The Mets picked him up.
The
didn't
Mets
they?
picked him
Did
up.
They may have released him since then, but the Mets have picked him up.
So that's that position. So like we said, it's not a lot. Catcher, Cervelli, who's making $11.5 million this year, but see, Cervelli's 34. I didn't realize he was that old. So I don't think you replace a young Barnhart who's not even 30 yet
No.
with that. So
I think all of us would say, all those positions, let's see what's best available out there
yeah.
and see what we can upgrade.
I think the
with.
Reds are more likely. They've shown that they're more likely to make a move that helps this team through a trade than they're able to do in the free agent market. Gregorius is 30.
He came up with the Reds, didn't he?
Yeah, they traded him way back.
With Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
He's got 8 homers, hitting 262, 730 OPS. Jose Iglesias, 8 homers, 287, 725 OPS.
How old's Iglesias?
He's 30. So I mean, that's kind of a wash.
It's even in it, yeah.
I mean, Gregorius is a flashier name, but what's he doing now? There's the best guy out there. Well, Freddie Galvis has hit 18 homers for Toronto this year, but beyond that, I don't know. I think the Reds have realized our strength in our farm system, and when we can make a deal, is probably position players. It certainly wasn't our starting pitching, because we tried all these guys we thought were our best prospects, and they didn't do much for us. We struggled bad for a couple years trying to count on prospects, and now
It's because they listened to us.
yeah,
Jeff.
yeah, and so look, who were the big pitching prospects? Stevenson's in the bullpen. Romano's now in the bullpen. Molly is at best your 5th starter, and who else? They've all other.
Castillo's
there's a
only one.
Castillo. I forget. Yes, he has been the guy. There's a guy down in Myers, Tony Santillan, which they like, but I don't know. They traded Scott Moss, who I thought they really liked, just recently in this big 3-team deal. So it's, they're just seem to be. We've got the starting staff in place. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Alex Wood, if they try to keep him, or if they say we're going to go with Molly, DeSclafani, and the three big guys that we got up front. I could see them doing that if they can't.
Well, they're in a position right now to be all in for next year.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So you could.
I think the Bauer trade proved that they were going for that.
So you could, buy a couple other temporary 1-year guys, and put all your chips on the table for next year.
You could, but they have to improve the bullpen. I don't know. How do you, they improved it the year before when they went out and got like a Hughes and a Hernandez because they pitched well last year.
Are you gonna?
This year not so much.
Are you gonna improve on Iggy for a closer?
Probably not. I think he's the guy next year, and I think they believe in Garrett and Lorenzen. I think those are the 3 guys. Even though Lorenzen's had his issues,
And you need a couple more.
but Lorenzen is still pretty young and learning how to do this. He wasn't a full-time pitcher coming up. He's got the arm talent. He's still learning. I think he's still learning how to pitch.
Garrett's still fairly.
Yeah, I think he's still learning how to pitch too.
Yeah.
But what do you do with the rest of the bullpen? I think all good bullpens have their 3 to 4 star guys, right? Your closer and your great setup guys. And after that,
Right.
it's
Roll the dice.
It's a roll. It is. It's piecemeal. It's in some years it all clicks and you have a great bullpen. In some years,
Not so much.
You can't trust some of those guys as far as you could throw them. So, yeah, it's a struggle. But at the same time, even with that, and they were good early, but even with them where they are, we're still hanging around and I just want to watch preseason football right now. Although you have to, Tom, because poor Tom's a Dish Network customer right now, and he can't watch the
There's only
Reds.
so much longer I can wait.
So Dish Network, we're pleading with you. I'm sure all the Dish
Pay them
Network
whatever they
execs
ask.
listen to our podcast, please, for Tom's sake. Settle this dispute, you and all the Fox Sports channels. So, because he's like popping in on a text. What happened? What's the score? Who's this Aquino
Tom.
guy?
Reds are tearing it up. You guys watching the Bengals game? No.
No.
Are you kidding me, Tom? We're destroying the Cubs.
It's 10-0. Oh, that's right. You can't watch the game. So.
You had the invite to come over and watch anytime.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I did want to hit to one thing here. This is episode 43. Do you remember who the last Red to wear number 43 was?
I did not.
He was on our team to start the season.
But he's no longer?
Yeah. Formerly my favorite player.
Scott Schebler?
Yeah, he was 43.
I think I'd know that.
Other couple recent guys. Remember Manny Parra, relief pitcher?
Yeah.
Miguel Cairo,
Yep.
middle infielder guy. They wore 43. Guy we talked about recently on an episode because we were talking about the trade, the big trade with the
Jack
Astros.
Billingham.
Jack Billingham was number 43.
Cactus Jack.
I did not have time to prepare notes and all kinds of tidbits on looking back at our big trade in 1971. I still have to talk about we've talked about Cesar Geronimo, Ed Armbruster, and Jack Billingham. Still have to, we'll do this on future episodes, talk about Dennis Menke, who was the third baseman for a while after that trade. And,
Yep.
and of course, the great Joe Morgan. And it will also...
Tight friend of yours.
Yes. Yeah, me and Joe are tight. Might buy my next Honda down there. And I thought it also, then, when we wrap that up, also, the Reds traded... the trade wasn't super popular with Reds fans when they did it, because they traded Tommy Helms and Lee May, and those guys were
Right.
big fan favorites. And another guy, Jimmy
Wasn't
Stewart,
Helms Rookie of the Year one year?
he might have been
I think he was.
like the year before Rose or after or whatever. They
It's
came
around
up,
the same time.
yeah. And so I'll probably do a little bit on those guys too. Like, what did they go on to do for the Astros after that, and where did they go? And we really see how the Reds got the better of that trade. So.
So this was episode 43.
So next one's 44.
Thank you. So 50 is coming up.
Mhm.
And we might need to do some kind of a blowout for 50.
Ooh.
Maybe we ought to ask, the fans for suggestions on
Yes.
what we should do for our 50th.
Okay. All right. You know what I'd also like to do is I'd like to get another fan or two that we don't know. Maybe get them on the phone and talk to them on the show.
That'd be fun.
So we'll do that once we get our technology sorted out. If today's whatever you're listening to this podcast sounds a little different, it's because my technology of my microphone that I usually use with our computer didn't want to work today. So we're just recording this on my iPhone.
So you know what we could use?
So we could use
Sponsors.
supporters.
Right, Kim?
On Podbean.
Oh, we had one time.
Yeah, we did. On Podbean, there's a thing I set up for patrons, and nobody's ever given us a dime. But if you want to support what we do a little bit, you can go there, and we'll get it. We can have some better equipment.
If they donate enough, then we can put them on the show. We'll call
put
them
them on the show.
Call them in. We
Yes,
can be
right.
bribed.
Yes. Oh, always. So that's kind of the main stuff I had. I didn't dig into that other thing. I knew we had a lot to talk about after these trades and looking ahead at the future and thinking about it. But I think from what I've heard is that we're happy we're playing some meaningful games, and it's August 11th. But I don't think any of us have these rose-colored glasses that the Reds are going to necessarily be playing after the end of the season.
I wouldn't bet on it.
I wouldn't bet on either. I mean, I think we're hopeful. It'd be great. It's like you said, Kim. That'd be gravy on this season. I think what a lot of us thought, if this can be the setup season for then being a contender, having some winning records, at least being in the race to the end, most every year for the foreseeable future, getting in the postseason sometimes, hopefully winning it all one of these days in the next several years. That'd be great.
If nothing else is progress, the Pirates are in the rearview mirror.
Yes.
Way in the rear.
We've been in the mirror.
We kicked them to the curb, literally. Amir Garrett went kung fu fighting.
Hey, I will say this: how many times, and Puig's been guilty of this. How many times you've seen a guy stick his chest out, point his finger, and he could have gone right at the guy, right?
Yeah.
But they wait till someone comes in between, then they start getting aggressive.
Yeah, because they don't really want to fight.
Give Garrett credit. If nothing else, he didn't do that. He threw his glove down and he went right after him.
Big time courage.
It wasn't necessarily smart
Or
no,
stupidity.
but he didn't wait until someone got between him to be braggadocious and go after you. He went right after him.
He did, and that was. Were you watching that night, Tom?
Yeah, I watched.
Oh, yeah.
That was before you lost your Dish Network.
He went right. I mean, it was him against the whole dugout.
Oh yeah, I can believe it. I almost had gone to bed. I was about ready to go to bed early that night because I had something early the next morning, and Hughes hit that guy, and I thought I'm gonna watch a little more. Something might, it just,
Even our friend Chris Cross he and I talked about it.
the Pirates fan.
And that hit by Hughes was benign. Chris, as a Pirates fan, had no problem with that. He said he did it right. And the Fanny, it wasn't a fastball. It was the guy for the Pirates that threw it at Dietrich's head. And it's like, okay, why? And then that's when you saw Joey saying,
Yeah,
what
right.
good is that?
Yeah.
What good is that doing? I do say that Pittsburgh has finally said we don't want any more of Hurdle. I've heard Pirate fans defending him all these years. I think they've had enough.
Well,
MLB has gotten what it's asked for.
When you come out of the All-Star break and play like you're like a AAA version of the Pirates.
And we've done that. Our team's done that. We've had AAA players.
Yeah, but they can't get out of their own way anymore. They're just losing every night almost. Yeah, they're bad now.
And I don't think any of us are sad. A little disappointed that they didn't beat Milwaukee and help us out.
Yeah.
But, the silver lining is they lost.
But the only team that could be better if that happened to, Cardinals. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, never been. Well, you don't. All the teams in your division you want to beat, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I felt that way about the Cardinals for a long time, and now the Pirates are sort of that. But if they're going to be bad, then so what? You don't care that much. But anyway, so all right. Anything else we want to hit on, or are we wrapping it up?
I think we're wrapping it up.
We're wrapping it up. So all right, yeah, we gotta have a little swim time before the mosquitoes get bad. Or do the
Have you seen those
get bad?
hummingbirds flying about
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
It's like 4 or 5 of them.
And they take care of them for you.
You?
They take care of the mosquitoes for you.
I don't think.
Well,
they
we haven't
do
been bit by much, so they must be.
Do they do that? It's quite the idyllic setting here, but we'll
Idyllic.
You like that
Very
word?
nice, Mr. Gilbert.
pastoral.
Faster, that's right.
I just think it's pretty nice.
Got my card. I can show it to you.
Oh, that's another story for another time. All right, well, next time we get together, hopefully it'll be sooner. We know it's been about a month since we got to be able to do this, but hopefully we can get together sooner, and hopefully then it'd be great if the Reds are still playing something meaningful. If not, that's okay as long as they don't tank it like the Pirates have. Still be competitive, still win their share of games, and still be great if the bullpen would get its act together. But if they don't, maybe by next year they'll figure that out, and we'll set up for a good year next year. But not giving up on this season yet, but being realistic that for all intents and purposes it's somewhat over, but it's not over to the point that it's mail it in time.
Even
it's
though
it's not over in sense of you just start playing a bunch of guys up from the minor leagues, you still
I
try
was
to
just saying,
develop
it may
them
not
to
be
play.
meaningful in terms of the playoffs this year, but the games can
Yeah.
have meaning for next year.
They do. I agree for development, and we hope Aristides Aquino keeps, breaking exit velocity records and all that kind of stuff. So, hey, enjoy that guy. Just enjoy. I mean, yeah, we can sit here and go, this will pass. We can be, what's the word I'm looking for? I come up with all those other
Skeptical.
words. Skeptical or cynical about it, but just enjoy it while it lasts.
We have another year of control over him. That's another.
That's right,
topic.
because we didn't bring him up too soon. We got him around as long as we get
And
Senzel
Van
around.
Meter.
Yeah. Oh boy, that'll be a free agent year. All those guys come off
Jeff.
leaving control.
That and the DH. Here we
Yeah,
go.
we'll have DH by then, and Joey will still be around.
Oh, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
Talk about not being cynical.
Oh my. All right. Well, with that, let's get out of here. Let's get in the pool. Rest of you out there, if there's a pool nearby, when you're done listening to this, I suggest you take a swim. I don't know why I said that, but I just did. It's kind of a stupid way to end the show, but that's what I said. I'm sorry. My apologies.
But whether you swim or not,
Go Reds!